Oh, live episode 27. Hopefully, y'all get on board. Tail of the Hair will be sending messages, let you know to move over to the Big Sound by Big Jeff podcast so we can put all the messages and comments together. Floyd Vester's in the house. You're hitting us up early. Mike A, you already know I'm not even try the last name. Brandon Banks from Ohio, finally catching the podcast. All right, numbers are jumping up. I like to see this. Luis Duarte, I think I did that right. WSP, not sure what that means, but I'll ask you later. We are episode 27. I have something that I like to deal with is radar detectors. We're going to talk about that tonight, how to pick out the right ones and what's the difference. And, is a $50 radar detector same as a $600 radar detector? We got the man that does this as a platform, Vortex Radar, which is real cool. I found him online. He goes in real depth. All right, the numbers are jumping up. I like to see this. Who else we got? Sarah, Dusty, our champion. We're going to talk about that later. Jonathan Nass, Steven Rogers, locally headed off-road. I appreciate you all and all the regulars. This is episode 27. We got a fun night. We have some giveaways. We got some announcements. You know how we do it here. And if you want, everyone, Facebook and YouTube, switch over to the Big Sound by Big Jeff podcast. And this way you can all see each other's comments. And if you haven't done already, hit that like button right now. Okay, we got enough people in here, and the latecomers will have to catch up. Hey, Ben, let's get this thing started. Hey, it's Big Jeff, and guess what's coming up? Black Friday. I got the starter hater kit on. Any order over $500, you get a free starter kit. You also get free swag with every order, and you can pick out what you want. But why shop with Big Jeff? Well, we're going to do double rewards points, and you have 5 different ways to get financed. Big Jeff Pay, Snap, Acima, Affirm, American. There's so many ways to get financed, to get what you need on sale. We have stuff from 10% all the way up to 35%, and we're even discounting the stuff that's already on closeout. Audio Pipe, Black Diamond, Def Bonds, DS18, Dynamat, Full Tilt, Gale Force, Hertz, Kicker, Massive Audio, Rockford, Sundown, SMD, Excess Power, and plenty, plenty more. We're crazy here.
It's Big Jeff Audio in the chair. Have a seat and relax. Don't be going nowhere. Before we kick it off, you gotta do one thing. Grab your chain, your shades, and your pinky ring. Got guests coming on, they be giving advices. Check out the website for them dope-ass prices. Lowest in town, yeah, that's a fact. Doing hair tricks like a maniac. What other podcasts give away this much? I'm saying during the week and at the end of the month. Shout out to your team and always the best. The show is Big Sound, hosted by Big Jeff. Got the Cuban link on, it's the flashy type, deviant for life. I'm saying smash the like, alright? Let's start the show.
Hey, we're here. All right. Listen, episode 27. Make sure you like this right now. Leave a comment. Definitely share. Let's get some people on. We're talking about something really cool. If you drive a car, you hate tickets. We're going to be talking about radar detectors tonight and how I got into them. And we got the man from Vortex Radar. That's this platform, man. It's talking about radar detectors. Really cool. Okay. We are extending the Audio Pipe sponsorship deadline. Couple reasons. We kind of did the 2-in-1 and we picked out the others, but didn't really properly do the Audio Pipe. So we're going to extend that, and I will bring it up more this following week. So if you haven't been picked, you still have time. Congratulations tonight, Sarah Dusty Hutchinson, for taking first place at Base Wars Toys for Tots over the weekend with one of the March digital amplifiers that they got through the sponsoring. Pull that back up, that picture. They it doesn't have, did it show the numbers? Okay, if you can comment, I know you're in here, what you actually hit, because you won. That's really awesome. Okay, what else we got to talk about? DD Audio is up on the site. We're putting more up every day. the order was actually supposed to be here today and somehow went back to Oklahoma and back to Florida. So it'll be here Monday. So anything you order will ship out on Monday or Tuesday. We have that product up. All right. We also have our vehicle selector now. Let me tell you, it is no easy task. That's why you don't see it on a lot of smaller sites. It is very expensive, and we are going to build off of it. Right now, you could year, make, and model and find out what radio fits and size speakers. But we're going to be adding alternators. There you go. Sarah said, Hutchinson says 151 at 3,333 watt amp, turned down to get a bigger. Oh, okay. So we got to work on that next. Congratulations, though, for winning. That's huge to sponsor somebody and change out their amp and take the win. Okay. So on the vehicle selector, year, make, and model, we're going to patch up alternators, batteries, everything. So right now it is working for your radio option and your speakers. We're going to be doing that. What else we got? Went to Music Wars over the weekend. New footage coming up. That was a great time. I did not realize how many Caribbean people order from us, and it's built up over the years. So it was a humbling experience to try to talk to people, and they're like, yeah, I order from you all the time. I just ordered, and I'm like, wow. So that was great. Good food. Second day had awesome weather. It was like really cool out with a nice breeze. Great. Okay. Def Bump's Black Friday sales have started, and I can't tell you how much they've kicked off. And there are deals, no lie, 35% off map. All the AAKs, and they are selling fast. If you can never afford one, you can now. And the rest of the product is anywhere from 10 to 25%. Take advantage to it. Also, there is like 19 new SKUs, new amps, new speakers, all coming in by Friday. So we will be busy. My team will be busy. We putting it up. Okay. We are supposed to do a monthly Team Cuban Link giveaway. So I'm late. I'm going to do it. And we have a winner. Who's the winner of the Team Cuban Link giveaway? Floyd Vester. And what did he win? Do we got the picture of that? I figured. I think it's some because I know he's building his truck. So they don't have a picture, but you won a whole Dynamat kit, which I think will be good with your truck build. So reach out. My team will get it to you. Congratulations. If you haven't done it, you can text the word chain to 737 Big Jeff. That's how we get you on there. Okay. And then weekly, we do the drunk text by Big Jeff. So this week's winner, who got drunk text by me, is Caleb Thorne. Got yourself looks like an amp kit, because I don't remember texting you. That's one of them nights. Oh, Jeff D. I can't even spell. Congratulations, though. Hit up 737 Big Jeff, and we will get you taken care of. Okay, listen, we're going to take a short video break, and I want to get into radar detectors because I love radar detectors. Every single car I have, it's like the first thing I put in there. I plug it in, then I get it hardwired because I like to drive fast. So let's do this quick video break, and we're going to come back and talk to Mr. Vortex himself, all right? We'll see you real quick.
A radar detector can help you avoid these situations. Vortex Radar helps you pick the right one.
Hey, what's up guys? So in this video, we're going to do a quick overview of Redenso's lineup of radar detectors. So starting off, let's begin with the Redenso XP. This is Redenso's entry-level detector. I like the XP as a city detector. Redenso Pro M. For a while, this was actually Redenso's flagship radar detector. And the Pro M is nice because it has even longer range than the XP. It's got some additional false alert filtering capabilities, plus it adds photo radar detection. Additionally, the platform that's used here in the Pro M actually originated overseas where people have been using the photo radar systems for years, and so this platform actually does a good job against a lot of those systems such as the MRCD. So we've got the new Redenso DS1, which in my opinion is actually Redenso's best detector, and actually gives you even longer range than the Pro M does. Additionally, it has automatic GPS lockouts instead of manual. It also has photo radar detection, but it adds an accurate frequency display now.
Like, share, and subscribe to Vortex Radar's YouTube channel today.
So do we call you Mr. Vortex? Or you like a name called? What do we call you tonight?
Yeah, Ariel's fine. I go by Vortex
Ariel?
Radar online. That's usually what they see me as, but yeah, Ariel works too.
Perfect. Before we even get started, all my people, go ahead and hit that up. Ben, pull up his YouTube link. He does have a Facebook too. If you want to watch some cool videos on all types of brands, that's how I found them. You all know I try to deal with the manufacturers we deal with, and I go after pages I like looking at. And I was a guy, man, Ariel, I was a guy changing a radar detector like every week. One, I have the capability of doing it, so it makes it a little easier. And two, I just kind of want to know which one was working better for me. I learned real fast that you can't really put a bunch together because they interfere, right? And people have done that, put up messages, said, well, this one went off, the other one didn't. I'm like, you can't put them together. So we could talk about that too. But I found your channel, man, because we're a big Redenzo dealer. Okay. And we got some real exclusivity rights for the US, huge. But I've always been, a Uniden guy. I've had them all. So I was kind of caught in the middle, like, what do I put up there, right? Do I support what I'm selling or just go with what I like or what? And that's how I found your channel. So tell me real quick, when did the channel start and how did you start?
Yeah, I probably got into this, I don't know, about 10 years ago or so. And at the
Wow.
time, I was
Okay.
like, I mean, I wanted to learn more about detectors. I got a ticket, and I was like, hey, I'd love to have more peace of mind, more protection while I'm out driving to know what's going on. And at the time when I was getting into this, there wasn't a lot of good information out there. There was like maybe a few people online who were testing stuff, but they weren't necessarily super knowledgeable. And also, like, I would go onto forums, and that was a good resource, but that was pretty limited too. So I kind of figured, well, I'm just curious. I'll try as well. So I had one detector, drive around with it, test it, pick up another detector. I'm like, oh, maybe this one's a better fit. Pick up a third one,
You were
and then
buying them
just
out of your own
start.
pocket, right? When you started.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just buy
Yeah.
them, buy them off
And I
Amazon,
tell
buy them from different
YouTubers this,
distributors.
man, all the time that hit us up for sponsoring. I tell, look, do it the right way. Start up, show that you can do this on your own. And then when you build a little bit of a fan base or you start to do some honest and real reviews, because they don't all have to be perfect or 100% represent the company, then people will reach out. And that's just good to know that you even started out that way. So I think people look at it too like real life because you put your own money into these things, right? So you're
Yeah,
non-biased and you're going to be about as fair as possible. What brand was the first brand you started with?
I think the first one that I got was the Escort 9500IX, kind of like a
Okay.
good plug and play, easy to use detector. But I wanted something with like better performance, more features and whatnot. So I wound up then getting like the Valentine 1 Gen 2. So I picked up
Expensive.
one of those. And then I wanted even longer range. And so at the time, that was the original Escort Red line. So I picked up one of those. And then I just started like testing and comparing. And then people would send me detectors online. But I actually really liked your point about the free stuff. Like, I see a lot of people who request products. And what you said is spot on. Like, if you think about it from the company's perspective, if they're going to be sending out a detector or whatever, like, that's not free for them. They're going to want to know that, like, if they send you a detector, do you know how to review a product? Are you able
100%.
to like give good information? Can you give good feedback? Are you going to provide something helpful in return? Because something I've seen a lot of times from people who ask for like free stuff is they just want free stuff and
Mhm.
they may not actually review it. They may not give useful feedback. I hear this a lot from manufacturers. And so it's like, dude, if you care about testing and learning, just test with what you got. You can have one detector, just go find a police officer, just go run back and forth, try adjusting different settings, go try different false alert filtering options. Just you don't need a lot of stuff. Just if you want to test, go test. If you want to learn, learn. Like it's not about having a lot of equipment. Just go do it.
The biggest return rate that I've had is always, I swear to God, I drove by 5 cops that it never went off. It must be bad, right? So we give them the same line. Just because you drive by a cop doesn't mean it's going to go off. They might not even be a traffic cop. They might not have it on. There's multiple reasons, right? So I went on eBay and bought a used radar gun, right? And they're still expensive for even an old, worn out, probably
It's
10
true.
years old, right? But it's still radar. And I
Hmm.
did a video where I showed somebody on, off, on, off. And I showed how the radar detector was sitting next to the radar gun, but the radar gun's not on. It's not going to
Yep.
work. And I had to do that because, some people just not there and they believe what they want to believe. Hey, we're giving away a tonight for you all. We always give away stuff. If you want to comment the word uh radar, RADAR, we're going to be giving away a Redenzo XP model. Actually, like you said, it's a good model for driving around town. um I like that model. We actually brought it back. Redenzo was going to close it out, and I said, man, these things are selling so good. What do I got to do to have it be exclusive? And obviously money talks, and if you get the right amount you can get anything. So we actually have a new batch coming that should be here next week, and we'll have them up. But I will be giving away a one. So comment the word radar. Okay, so let's get into this. You start off, you get interested in radar detectors, you make a few videos, right? When did it really start to blow up? When do you think it really started to become like, hey, the subscriber count's going up, the comments are going up? When was that? What was it from?
I don't know the exact time, but I remember it being one of those things like I didn't get into this for the money. That was never the point. It was literally just like I just want to learn. So I'm just going to go
Right.
test and I'll share what I find with people. Cool.
It's like you get rich
And
off of YouTube money either. I mean, everybody thinks that, but you gotta have a lot to really make
there's a
sense.
lot,
Yeah,
100% that goes into it. Like, it was really just one of those things where I was like, okay, well, here's a test with a couple different detectors. Here's how they perform against different radar guns, whatever. And then people are like, oh, hey, man, thanks for the video. This was really helpful. I'm going to go buy the detector that did the best in your test or that you really like. And I was like, oh, um, okay, cool. I'm glad you're going to enjoy it. I guess if you're going to do that anyway, here's an affiliate link
right,
so
right.
that like I make a percentage if you buy it off
Yeah,
Amazon or different sites,
100%.
like, okay, if you're gonna do it anyway, fine. So I was like, oh, there's
Yeah,
ways of
but why
actually making
not? You
money off
help
this.
them make that purchase, which is not cheap, right? And you save them time
Mhm.
and money. And if your review is honest, which the ones I've seen are, you save the money. I've been through radar detectors that I didn't watch the reviews, and I'm like, man, I just don't like this.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of stuck or selling it used, right? And then doing
Yeah.
another one. So it's worth
Well,
it.
even that whole thing with like, do I accept money for what I do has been tough because I've seen so many people who like when money starts to enter the equation, it's super easy to just get into like, well, I'm financially incentivized to sell this or to recommend that. And
Mhm.
it's really easy to fall in that trap. And so I'm like, all right, if I'm going to go down that route, for me, because of like, I got into this, I bought something that somebody else had recommended because they could only make a profit doing that, but not something else. And I was like, man, I really wish you recommended what was best for me, not necessarily what was best for your pocketbook. And
Right.
so
If you
like
all
I
have
got into this.
questions, and listen, if you any questions, he's very knowledgeable. Let me tell you, he is not just the guy who reads the pamphlet and gives the specs. I can tell you that, and hopefully you all subscribe and watch what I watched. I mean, Ariel has really grown into man, a grade A knowledgeable about radar checker. Let me tell you, there's a lot to them and the technologies. And when it comes to red light cameras, and here we go, JT's garage. Does the vortex go off? Does the vortex go off easily when passing certain alarms? I think you're confusing. He doesn't have a brand called Vortex. He is
Yeah.
Vortex. So if
Yeah.
you have but let's just say an alarm. So we'll just pick out any of them. Do they go off easily when passing certain alarms? JT, if you could re-comment, what do you mean? What alarms? Right? Are you talking like the doors that open and close that always triggers cheap radar detectors? Maybe you could re-comment. So let me ask this: what was your what was your favorite radar detector back then? And what right now, if you were to pick out your big dog, what would it be?
I think at the time it's a toss up between the original V1 and the red line.
Okay.
A lot of people back then, for whatever reason, those two detectors, if you space them out far enough, you could have run the two independently and get like the red line for long range performance and then the V1 to get the arrows. So that was a really popular combination a lot of years ago. Really tough to do that safely, but for whatever reason, those two played well. The V1 was a lot of fun because they added Bluetooth to the detector, which was kind of revolutionary at the time. And then you could start to actually create different apps, and people would then start to build third-party apps on Android to add some additional functionality. Like there's more you can do on Android than on iOS. And so, like, I bought an Android phone, even though I'm an iPhone guy. Started working with the developers, like, let's build in some features, let's work on the UI, let's improve this app. So I think one guy was from France, we had some from the US, and just like getting to be that hands-on with the development to like make something awesome and help contribute was a lot of fun. So that was, I think, actually one of the things that really got me into it was just being able to like really make a difference in that way and do something that I really enjoy. That like, oh man, then other people can go download this app too was a lot of fun at the time because that's not really something I'd gotten into before.
Store alarm set off my one off. Okay, so he's talking about the doors, the radar and the doors. So maybe let me try and you tell me if I'm wrong because you're the man here on this. But it's usually that's like an X band when it comes off of the radar, off of the doors opening and closing. X is usually the band I shut off automatically. I don't believe there's any cops that use X band. It's usually KA, and in different frequencies. Am I wrong there? Did I say that right?
It's pretty close. Yeah, they those automatic door openers that you see on like shopping centers, they typically transmit on either X or K band. Most of them transmit on K-band, some transmit on X-band. I'm in a similar boat as you were, like, I don't have any legit X-band in my area.
Right.
They're super old radar guns. The antennas are massive because it's like a lower frequency, so it requires physically larger antennas. And for that reason, it's been phased out of most parts of the US. There are still a couple places that still operate X-band. Ohio is one of the classic ones, actually, where like Redenso and Valentine, a lot of these companies are based out of Escort too. There's a
Mhm.
lot of photo enforcement in Ohio. Southern New Jersey, I believe, has some, and then a couple rural places here and there throughout the US. But for the most part, X-band has been phased out. So a lot of people just, they do the same thing where they just shut off X-band altogether.
Just a good one. Locally headed off road. That's a group. I drive through Virginia a lot, so how can I add detector? So first thing you want to make sure is the detector you buy has the basically to hide the detector from the detector. Okay. The Pro-Am, the Redenzo, the Pro-Am we did a video on, that's the big thing. It has that ghost technology, and then the size is small. I see you grabbing something. Go ahead. I'll let you take this over.
Yeah, so the idea is there are a couple places where radar detectors are illegal. Virginia, Washington, D.C. are the two big ones. And there's a couple of things like military bases, commercial vehicles, and stuff throughout the U.S. But one thing to keep in mind is there are officers in the area that use radar detectors. For you guys on the video, they look like this. It's basically a radar detector, but
Oh,
tuned not to
wow.
detect radar, but it detects the emissions coming out of radar detectors themselves. And so certain radar detectors can actually be picked up by officers running radar detectors.
Wait, how far does that normally work?
Depends. Some of the poorly designed ones that leak a lot, you can pick up detectors over a mile away. They even
Wow.
have options to like adjust the settings if you're picking things up way too far to try to figure out exactly where the detector is. Some of the better designed ones, maybe you'll be picked up a couple hundred feet away. Some of the best ones are essentially undetectable.
Right.
And so if that's a concern to you, you can get a detector that is undetectable by radar detectors.
Correct. And then you would
There's
also get a hideaway type, right? Where you actually put your sensors in the grill, you have your mount in the dash, so if a cop walked up and wouldn't see it, or like I said, you'd have a small enough one that doesn't stand out on the dash. Excuse me, you mount it low enough or on the visor, but you need to have the detector that the detector that doesn't make the detector detect. And some of the good ones have that built in. So that is a thing.
Yep.
Juan says, is there infrared? Uh,
Not
not
well,
really.
to be
Yeah,
fair, police laser guns do operate in IR. So
right.
radar
It's just
detectors do have laser
yeah,
sensors, but that's a very different thing. And yeah, that's where laser jammers come into play. Totally different than radar
and
detectors.
that's a whole nother story because the ones that advertise it, most of them don't work. It is an expensive item, and you actually have a very important install because you have to mount the laser jammers in particular areas on your vehicle, and they only work a certain size area. So that's a little tricky. I've seen a lot advertised that it'll defer laser, and there's no way you could tell out of a little license plate cover, or I've seen some little stash sticks. It's not gonna happen. But yes, laser's real. When I tell people, when the laser shows you got hit, it's too late. You've been hit. They
Yeah.
got
Think of
you're done.
it's like a speeding ticket notifier, your radar
Right.
detector.
Yeah, I got
That's
hit. Now
yeah,
am I getting
yeah.
pulled over or not? Right. So
At best. I
that's
mean, honestly, a lot of times, like a laser that's, I mean, it's targeting your headlights, your grill, your license plate area. Like, it's actually really tough since laser is such a thin beam. Like, it's tough for a radar detector on your windshield to even pick it up. So it's very possible. And I see comments all the time like, "Hey, I got pulled over. My detector didn't alert."
right.
Yeah, you probably got tagged with laser, and your detector didn't
This is
alert.
an
So like,
awesome question because not everybody thinks about this. And Brandon, I'm glad you did because this is
mhm.
a big difference why you don't want to get one of those cheap radar detectors because they will go off because of your own vehicle. Brandon says, is there a detector that is smart and won't pick up other cars' collision avoid systems? 100%. So those work off radar. Like my BMW has a 360-degree protection. And what it does is it'll sense the car coming too close to me and it'll actually turn on its own to avoid the collision. Okay. That works off radar. So, yes, 100%. You want to make sure that your radar detector you're picking out does have that. I would say, isn't it pretty common right now, though, with most of them that they have the technology to avoid that, or is that not really as common?
Yeah, there's no detector that can fully eliminate Those falses, we call them like blind spot falses, like the
Right.
blind spot radar, blind spot monitoring. So every detector has the, well, actually, no, that's not true. The lower end ones don't really have like this blind spot filtering, so they're going to false a lot more. So you wind up like not trusting the radar. It's kind of the boy who cried wolf. The higher end detectors, one of the advantages is they have better filtering to like tell the difference between a car with blind spot radar and a police radar gun. No detector can do this completely. I know Redenso, for example, you mentioned them. They've been working on technology to do a better job at this, but that's been delayed for years now. So I don't know if they're going to wind up releasing it. But they've been doing some work with like AI to try and do a better job with this. But it's something that like every manufacturer is really working hard to tackle, is to try to minimize these false alerts while also doing it in a way that doesn't negatively impact performance. Because the goal is to like detect police radar reliably and also not false alert to blind spot radar or other source of non-police radar around us.
Well, let's hold on. We'll get JT. Are there any myths true about rain and certain types of whales? A cop can't clock you. Is it true about the rain in certain types? I'm not sure what he means there. Whales, a cop can't clock
I think
you.
he means ways instead of
Ways.
whales.
Okay, so any types of ways a cop can't clock you in the rain. Well, okay, I get it. He's saying, can the radar guns clock you in rain? Now, I know laser can't, because laser works with light. And tell me if I'm wrong, Ariel, but I just like read something about this. Because the laser works off of a pulsating light, the rain can affect that. So I'm under the impression they can't really use radar laser in rain. But when it comes to regular KA, whatever, regular bands, does rain affect that?
So we'll start with laser. Well, both of these can and are used in the rain. They work fine in the rain, including
Okay.
laser. Laser guns, though, they do have a what's called a poor weather mode. And the idea is laser, like it's transmitting these pulses of light and it's looking at the reflections. The issue with operating laser in the rain is that if you're targeting something that's really close up to you, those raindrops are really big and they start to like cause more interference with the laser gun. And so what happens is when you enable the poor weather mode in the police laser guns, it's basically going to ignore any close range signal. So like, let's say anything within maybe 200 feet. So it effectively reduces the minimum range of the police laser gun, but the maximum range beyond 200 feet, it can still clock cars just fine. We even did some testing with like laser jammers, and those can work. I mean, yeah, they work in the rain too.
Do you think
Radar
you could fight a ticket though if it was in the rain?
I don't know if that would be I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but
Right.
like I don't know if that would be a way to necessarily fight the ticket. There's other ways of fighting the ticket. I don't know if the rain would be like one way of maybe fighting it. Um, but as far as like radar and laser, I'm here in Washington. We get plenty of rain, and I still see radar and laser in use here, nonetheless.
Right.
And same thing with radar. Like maybe a fun fact with radar, like yes, it can operate in the rain too. It doesn't have those close range limitations. But one of the fun things, like, do you know where KA band came from? That KA specifically.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
So they had like different frequencies that radar can transmit on, and they just kind of, instead of calling it like 24 gigahertz, they just kind of gave it these convenient names like K band.
Right.
So there was K band itself, which is a really popular one, but they found that when you're transmitting in the rain, like that can actually diminish the radar's ability to propagate through the atmosphere, through the rain. And so what they would do is they'll kind of like create other bands that are maybe a little bit above K band, which is KA, or a little bit under K band, which is KU. And the reason those bands were actually created in the first place and named that way is because they have better propagation when you're transmitting through the rain. And that's primarily going to be an issue when you're transmitting at longer distances. At closer range, like where you're operating police radar gun, I don't know, 500 feet, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet, whatever, there's no issues for K-band, KA, any of that kind of stuff as well. So they all work just fine in the rain, but that's kind of a fun fact as far as like where the name KA actually came from and why it's named that way.
I mean, I'm loving this. Everybody's got great questions. We're not even getting to our question, which is awesome. Locally Hate Off-Road says, how far can a cop clock you accurately? Well, that's definitely going to depend on the radar detector. But what is all right, let's say, what in your experience, what is the low average for the cheapies and what is a good average for the good ones for distance?
A lot of
Now,
this is going to depend
on the day and everything else. But we'll just say average day, average everything.
Yeah, for a smaller vehicle like a motorcycle, they have to be a lot closer. Same thing for like something like a Corvette with a smaller profile. A huge vehicle like a semi has a much larger profile. So I mean, like, we can get into the technical limitations of like, okay, this stuff works reliably within like 1,000 feet or something. You can pick them up 1,000 feet away. some more, some less. But realistically, you also run into issues where, like, if they're too far away, number one, certain states will actually restrict how far away police are allowed to operate their stuff because it is harder for them. Like, if you're trying to transmit a laser gun, you've got some handshake there. Can you be sure that the laser gun is actually targeting the car that you're put the crosshair on and not the one in the next lane over? And when you've got some handshake, when you're dealing with like the beam spread of the laser beam actually getting wider and wider over time, you run into issues with not being sure whether or not you're actually clocking the car correctly. So it's not just a question of like, can the gun itself physically do it, but can they do it reliably? Are you sure that like, hey, is there another car maybe closer or farther away that it's picking up? Like, and this is
Yeah, there's
actually
a
an
lot
issue
of
with.
variables that you'd have to put in play, right?
Yeah, so it's a great question, but like you get into a lot of nuance with like you
Right.
can sometimes the radar gun will pick up a car that's farther away than the one that's
Mhm.
closer to it for a variety of reasons. And
I'll
so
say for me with the higher end ones, I usually, if they're pulling it clear day interstate, I can usually tell a few miles that there's some radar, something going on up the road, right? I
well, yeah, that's the question about radar detectors, which is a different question than like the radar guns themselves.
Oh, okay, okay. He's asking the other way, how
Yeah,
far can they get you, right? Let's do
yeah.
this. Let's do we were actually at a car show this weekend, which is a whole Caribbean theme from the Virgin Islands over here of Florida. We're gonna do a short video break. Then when we come back, we're gonna pick the winner. Well, actually, you're gonna be able to call out the winner for the Redenzo XP, and then we'll start the next one, and then we'll get into some more questions. So everybody stay tuned. Quick video break of where we were this weekend. Fun times. Alright, live and music wars. We're gonna make another loop. There's all types of stuff here. What's up? Say what's up. What's up? There they are. Alright, we're going back around. Good food. Drink. Got the Team Cuban links everywhere. Good people. They actually do a show before that, Ariel, to raise money for people to get their vehicles over here from the Caribbean. So the man, it's just crazy those people how they just work together. You know what I'm saying? That they actually do like a small show just to raise money so they can vote over the vehicles to come to the show. And they do it every year. It's called Music Wars. It's basically different than bass. They put two cars in the center, and each car plays their music with their doors and everything open, and judges stand around to see what has the fullest, cleanest type sound outside the vehicle. These guys put, I'm talking, I was seeing guys come and take the back windows out of the SUV that were bolted on just because it was all speakers, and doors opening, hoods opening, speakers on the front grill. Just crazy. Good time. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and give away the Redenzo XP for everybody that commented the word radar. We'll let actually, because we're gonna be bringing them back in. So I'd like you to take, when we're done, a few minutes, just explain the good and the bad. Be honest about that one. And for a $200 price point, that's where it's at. Okay, go ahead and bring up the winner. We'll let Ariel read off his name or her name.
All right. So the winner here, we've got Mike Angels.
Wow, Mike
There we go.
Angel's actually
Congratulations.
a big YouTuber that does a lot of car reviews. Congratulations. We haven't really had another YouTuber win, but that's awesome. So Mike,
Very cool.
congratulations. Let's talk about the XP real quick. So that was a closed out model, but it sold so well for us, right? Like we got when Redenzo wanted to close it out, they're like, we have X amount left. You take them all, you sell it at what you want. And I was kind of scared, thinking, well, if it's a closeout, how good can it be? And it had a $199 price point. you're probably going to grab one because I'm sure you have every
Yeah.
radar.
Oh, here we go. Here's one. Yeah, I think I got a couple in the closet too. But yeah, here's an
So
XP. Grab one while
I
we're talking about it.
so good that I said, "Hey, can I still bring them in myself, even though you closed them out?" So we did. We got the minimum. They production and got them, and they're actually I think we have like 600 or 800 coming next week. So you have one there. Can you give us a little bios on it and what you found out with that?
Yeah, so XP, I think actually the $200 price point, that actually makes more sense. I've always been kind of looking at like Redenso XP, Unit and DFR7 around the $200 price point. I know for a while the XP was sitting around 250 or so, but I think,
Right.
around 200, that makes more sense for it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, basically good detector as far as like just something to pop up on the windshield, not crazy long range performance or something. I mean, it's not going to perform like an $800 detector, but for $200, like good performance, good false alert filtering, right? Dealing with some of those false alerts, like the blind spot falses we were talking about. It's got GPS built in, which is really helpful kind of in the city. So like just driving around, you've got, a lot of those shopping center door openers. You can like teach it where those false alerts are located just by pressing a button here on the top of the detector. So every time it sees that signal again in the future, locks it out, doesn't mute you every time you come by or doesn't alert you. Low speed muting. So like when you're going through a new town, just driving through the city, keeps the detector extra quiet. Red light camera alerts, speed camera alerts, all that kind of stuff. There's some cool extra little features in there, like the test mode that like gives you an incredibly responsive detector. Just fun stuff for us testers. But as far as just like a detector that most people want to toss in the windshield, yeah, reasonable performance, good false alert filtering, reasonable price. Yeah,
That's awesome. So you have that one, and then obviously Redenso makes the Pro M, and they went to their flagship, not the flagship like the Hideaway, but the DS1. What are your what's your input on the Pro M? I know the Pro M was really good for overseas for sure. We have a lot of Europeans buy that one. I think there's some, and maybe you'll know there's some kind of technology or something over there that the Pro M works very good for. And then the DS1 is supposed to be, you could change the colors. It's kind of, and again, those are only in the, under $400 range, like the DS1, and even the Pro M. I think we're at I want to say 349. I'd have to, Taylor, if you want to get that price for me on the Pro M, I'm having a brain fart.
Yeah, so a lot of cool things. I mean, every detector, it's one of those things where you're like, hey, what's the best detector? But I mean, they all have their own like unique aspects and pros and cons that like it's kind of hard to pick one that's going to be the best for every person in every situation. But yeah, I mean, the Pro M, it's teeny tiny detector. Like if you put it next to the XP, for example, I mean, it's much smaller. Like it's one of the most compact detectors out there. And same thing with like the DS1, for example. I mean, the Pro M is going to be a lot more compact. So if you're looking for a small detector, like the Pro M is a good choice for that. But I guess one of the big things that was really nice for it was the fact that, yeah, I mean, it had like, it was developed overseas originally where they had a lot of photo radar. And now that it's starting to trickle over here to North America, we see it in Canada, we see it throughout the US. The Pro M was like one of the first detectors that gave us the ability to pick those up, which was really nice. They also kind of like evolved.
You're bringing the DS1 at 359 and the Pro M at 349. So they're in the mid threes. I mean, we're at the price range. What would be your input at that price range?
Price range, as far as the Pro M, for most people, I don't think it makes sense anymore, considering the DS1 is a better detector at this point. There's really only a few situations where I think it might make sense to pick up the Pro M, but I mean, the DS1, longer range, better display, better false alert filtering at this point. They've added in a photo radar detection. The mount is a little bit bigger, but it's got a pretty cool trick mount for like more customization as far as how you can actually install it in your car, like a 1/4-inch screw there. So I think the DS1 is probably Redenso's best detector. I'm actually working on a video right now talking about some of the third-party iOS apps that are available for, a number of detectors, including the DS1. It's the only one with Bluetooth as well. So
now, when you say you're working on an app, what would that? I know, like when I had, not a Uniden, but one of them, you get an app and you can actually get everybody can leave a, hey, there's a cop here, there's a and you can have like a map. Is that what you're talking about building, or what do you
well, I'm not building them. There's other people who actually do the app development. I'm just kind of like working on, what are the comparisons of like the two different iOS apps that are available to compare with the DS1? What are the pros and cons of each option? So I'm kind of like working on that video right now.
Right. Hey, everybody, if you want to get another radar detector, comment the word Vortex, VORTX, and we're giving away a lesser expensive Uniden DFR1. I'll let him explain it. I can tell you, I've been selling this radar detector for 3 years, and last year alone, we did 16,663 of them, and it would have been higher, but I have to deal with how much Uniden brings in product wise. It's crazy selling. Not anything special long range, but for driving around town, it will let you know if there's something coming up. But we can get back to that. But go ahead and comment the word Vortex, VORTX. We'll give one away there. Okay, so let's get out of the XP. Let's get out of the DS1. What is your opinion right now? What is the Mac? What do you drive with? What is the one that you put the sign? And if it doesn't matter about price, okay? What is and why? What is the big boy and why?
Yeah, so another video that I've been working on. Right now, it's between Valentine 1 Gen 2, Escort Redline 360C, and Uniden R8. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go for the R8 because I think it's got the best balance as far as performance, false alert filtering, app capability, etc.
And it's light. I hate the other one because it's like a rock on your window.
Well, it's funny. I hear some people say they like the heavier detectors because
Really?
it's like
No.
more better quality,
tell you
it's
why.
stronger. You can use it as a hammer, and it's like, I
No,
mean,
but
yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what, every car, even the BM, every car has some sort of extra bass in it, and that rock, it just doesn't go well together. So I have the 7 in my vehicles now. It is super light. I don't like how big the front is because it's really boxed and squared, but overall,
the 8.
yeah, that's what I got. I have them in 3 of the
R8,
vehicles, and it's done a great job. Okay. I had the 360, not the newer one, but I had the 360s. And why I bought it was because you could have the camera on it. And I said, okay, all in one.
The Max Cam, yeah.
Yeah. But the problem was it's front facing only. And I wanted to have, front and back. So I got rid of that and I said, screw it. I'll just do my own dash cam. There she is. You're probably in your hand. What I like about
that's a big detector. Yeah,
that's a huge thing, dude. But what I like, I like a detector that tells me if it's coming from the front or the back, because if not,
100%.
I have to play the game of timing it and see if they're coming closer or going further. I love having the option of knowing front and rear or if I've passed it. That's just me. That's what I look for first. 1, I got to know front and rear. 2, I don't want it too heavy. That's just automatic for me. I mean, what are you looking for when you're looking for an expensive radar detector?
The dream detector that nobody makes that we continue to desire. Like, yeah, what is the ultimate detector? Yeah, so if I was to make my list, it would be long range performance, pick up signals far away, lightning quick responsiveness. So, like, if it's a briefer signal, just a little blip of radar, especially at a distance, being able to pick that up.
Right.
Really good false alert filtering so that when it does go off, you can actually trust it, that it's a police officer, a legitimate threat, not just one of those blind spot falses nearby.
Right.
Arrows nearby, like you mentioned, extremely helpful. There's a huge debate, of course. People are like, why do you need arrows if it beeps? Just slow down. And I'm like, not that simple. Like, I get it, but that's,
Right.
So, like, yeah, the arrows are very beneficial in practice. Bluetooth, and particularly the ability, call it an open API, the ability for other developers to create their own apps for the detectors. Like, a lot of manufacturers have their own apps, but honestly, they're not very good. What we see from like other just random developers who are like, I work at Google, let me create an app on the side, like whatever. Those apps are amazing. They're incredible and way better than what we see from many manufacturers. So like the ability to create different apps for the detector, Redenso, Uniden, and Valentine all offer that. Very helpful. Some of the stuff, if you need it, like an undetectable radar detector or photo radar detection, if you need it in your area, that's going to be important too. But those are some of the main things that I would be looking for. GPS, of course, as well.
You got any funky looking ones back there you could bring up? I mean, what's the most funkiest looking one?
Funky, maybe the Batman detector, like one of the worst detectors ever.
Yeah,
that's always a fun one.
I'm gonna put you full screen. Taylor, can you put him bigger screen?
Laser guns. Yeah, so.
Or Ben?
Yeah, one of the funniest ones, of course, is like, I mean, this Batman detector like this, I don't know. It's just this like thing you can get for $10 off Alibaba, and then people resell it for like
$20. It's crazy how they even make money because you can see them on Temu for like $6 and then shipping and everything else. But does it even work?
So technically, it detects radar. The performance is abysmal. It falses like crazy. It has not one but 2 little laser sensors here on the rear, but there's actually no laser sensor behind The sensor, it also doesn't actually detect it at all. It speaks like English, Russian, and I think it's either Mandarin or Cantonese. I'm not sure which. They say it
So
has
definitely,
GPS. There's no
definitely not
GPS.
worth the 10 or 20 bucks
It,
even.
no, I mean, it's like the worst detector I've ever tested. It's awful. But then if you go look at like some of the marketing sales pages, people are like, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
yeah.
I'm like,
Right.
it's
Okay,
comedic
so
for
you
bad.
call
So
that the Batman. What's another one?
the Batman, maybe the Rocky Mountain Radar ones. I got a couple of those. I keep grabbing them. But yeah, like they advertise scrambling capabilities, the ability to like scramble police radar and laser guns and prevent them from being able to get your speed. Doesn't work in practice at all.
Okay.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of like,
Advertising, right? Because I remember seeing what you're talking about, like you're invisible to police. They make it look like, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I'll go out there with like, all right, here's a half a dozen radar guns, half a dozen laser guns. Here how it performs against every single one. Oh, it's undetectable radar detectors. Here's 3 radar detectors. Here you are getting picked up by all of them, and like, I mean, every single one. What do you want? Like, there's the results. Other people will go test it; they get the same thing. So like, yeah, I mean, there's some of that stuff in the industry, I guess, with anything. But
Okay, without killing my best-selling item, and that's even out of speakers, the DFR1. I mean, we literally sell 20,000 a year. Give me something good about it, at least.
doesn't cost a lot of money.
I mean, I drove around with it. I mean, it works. Not 3 miles down the road. I didn't really have that much where it was over some falsing, but it wasn't like it was going off the whole trip. But you get the feedback is really not that bad, even though it's a $50 radar detector. But I think for just driving around, or better yet, let's say not city highway where you don't have all those falses, I think it could be hard.
It's kind of one of those things where, like, I mean, in my opinion, look, for the most part, you're going to get what you're paying for. I think it's worth spending at least $200 minimum, because when you consider the cost of like the speeding ticket, the court costs, the hikes to your insurance, like, I think it's worth investing a little bit more to get like a good detector. But I get it. If you just want something cheap to start out with, you're not going to get the greatest range. But if you're like in a situation where you've got a lot of flat terrain, you don't have a lot of hills and stuff, okay, you can kind of get by with it.
Mr. Tatted Up said, does the photo blocking tag spray work? No. Okay, let me try to answer this, because I looked into this. Because what does kind of work is the license plate lens that goes over that makes it look weird, but the spray doesn't, because the spray, they say, that puts a coating on there that's supposed to mess with the cameras. It doesn't. I've seen the license plates at the right angle that has that magnifier on there that could throw it off, but these new high-speed cameras that you run under, man, they're incredible. I don't think any of that works. But people were buying that spray crap for years. Like, there was commercials on TV for it. Spray your license plate.
Similar kind of thing. Just because people sell it doesn't mean it's good. Just because people advertise it as good doesn't mean it works. Like, yeah.
All right, let's see. We got another one here. Do they make radar detectors to let you know when pizza shops are having a BOGO? That'd be great, JT. I'm not even sure why I put that up there, but good one. All right, what else? Oh, you guys are having some conversation in the back. Okay. All right, so what do you have in your vehicle right now?
An unreleased, unannounced detector that I'm beta testing that I can't talk about.
Okay.
So besides that,
are you a car stereo guy? Because that's what we are. Yeah.
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I just got the stock stereo in my car. It works fine. I'm happy with it. Like, honestly, with kids, like, I'm just playing Wheels on the Bus all day.
Right.
So like,
I'm not too worried. Getaway car type. It's family car.
No, family car with like 6 dash cams on the windshield, 360 all the way around in different directions, 5 different radar detectors, like a bunch of battery packs to power everything. But the audio part I've never gotten into.
Gotcha. Okay, Brandon Banks, do detectors have firmware updates keeping current with changes in tech? I don't know about that really, but more the GPS. You got to update all the red light cameras. I mean, the ones that give you that, if you don't plug them in, they're not going to work. So if you have the option, I know the Redenzo has a USB cord. You get free updates. You're going to do that, but it's not like they're changing every day.
The firmware updates can actually be pretty helpful. So that's going to do things like add new features to improve the functionality, improve the performance, fix bugs. That can actually, sometimes they'll modify the false alert filtering. So as new cars come out with like new blind spot radar, they'll actually update their false alert filtering. And so if you haven't updated your detector, definitely a good idea to do it. Usually you just plug it in by USB, like with the DS1, for example. There's a USB port on the side. I know a lot of detectors you can connect over Bluetooth, and you can either use an app, or some of the detectors have Wi-Fi built in. You can update that way. But the firmware updates are definitely pretty helpful. I actually usually do videos on like, here's what the latest updates include. Here's the changes. Here's the performance impacts. Here's here's the optimal settings. Like, yeah, there's a lot to that. But
Mr. Chatted Up White Boy says, "Get this man a demo ASAP. We'll make you a base head overnight." We gotta. He's lucky he's all the way out in Washington.
dude, I get so many product requests every day. My inbox is like, hey, can you test this and this? And I'm like, dude, do you realize how much time it takes to test and review one thing? Like,
Right.
man,
Do you have any record? Here we go. Do you have any way to record actual speed if you wanted to contest a ticket?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a cam on your speedometer, but then you'd have to prove your speedometer is certified. So that's a lot of ways you can get out of a ticket. So any ticket I ever got, first thing I do is I call the ticket clinic, because most of the time, if the cops don't show up, it'll be thrown out. You plead no contest, you get no points, and the most you have to do is pay for the ticket, or they throw it out. If a cop comes and the radar gun hasn't been certified in the allowed time, then it's unofficial. A lawyer can get it thrown out. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and start speeding and going crazy. I'm just telling you, don't just take the ticket and pay it, because most of the time you can pay $50, $80 to a lawyer, and you will at least save the points on your license. So to contest it, though, even if you had a picture of your speedometer, it's not going to matter, because it's just not going to matter, because at that point, you're better off just letting the lawyer do his thing and try to fight that the cop doesn't show up, or it's not, the laser gun hasn't been updated or recalibrated or what have you. Don't forget, you will get a speeding ticket not just from radar. They can clock you. Basically, a cop could say, well, I drove behind you at a certain speed and stayed up with you, and that's how I got your speed. It's kind of hard to fight, right? I don't know if it's easier, because again, it's your word against his. He's saying he stayed with you doing 80 miles an hour for so many miles or whatever it is. And then you got to, so no, but my advice is to get the ticket doctor. Now, some radar companies will advertise, they'll pay your ticket, but there's a lot of red tape there. For instance, you can't be going over a certain amount of mile per hour over the speed limit. There's stipulations. And honestly, by the time you go through all of it, good luck getting paid. But there are warranties like that, and you can get it. But I would rather not worry about the money. I'm worrying about the points on my license. So that's it. Okay, we are going to give away the DFR1. If you were to, what was it? Vortex. Comment the word Vortex. My team will bring up a winner. Mr. Mike Speed, Life and Speed, Mike Angels won the nice one. Congratulations. And this one, I'm not going to say it's bad. It's a 50. We actually sell it between 52 and 54.95. And I think it does the job for $50. But like Ariel said, you want to get something decent, you're going to spend that $200 to $400 range to get something very worthwhile. And I agree with that. But I'd rather have a $50 detector than no detector. That for sure. Okay, the winner for the DFR1 is
William Milan.
There you go. Millen or Milan.
Milan.
Yep. Good luck,
Mr. William.
Yep. Congratulations. You have won a free radar detector. 737 Big Jeff. That's 737-244-5333. I'll let you all jump in with a few more questions before we do our external outgoing stuff. But are there any myths or misinformation about radar detectors that you would like to clarify? Now, you have a whole following because your whole channel is on this, right? So, I mean, you're definitely at the top, I would say, educated, and you've probably had a lot of questions over the years. How big is your YouTube right now? How many subscribers?
100,000 something, 127.
So that's on the same topic, the same thing. That's incredible to get that. I give
radar
you
detectors, laser jammers, and dash cams are kind of the big three that I focus on.
I give you props for that. That is so specialized, right? So you are
very
working with a very niche, right, group. So Congratulations on that. I can tell you that you grabbed my attention because you were so informative, and I could tell you weren't trying to sell me in your video. That's what grabbed my attention. Even talking to you tonight, I mean, you just speak how it is, and I love that. So, what is the most misinformation or myth that you get questioned that you want to set straight?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of these. Probably the two most common ones that I see are like actually what we were talking about earlier. Like, why did I pass a police officer and like the radar gun didn't go, or my radar detector didn't go off? And it's like, well, yeah, it's not a police car detector; it's a radar detector. If they don't have a radar gun in their car, if they're not transmitting, if they've got it turned off because they're going home, or I mean, like you said, a lot of these have a trigger. So like if they're not,
some of them are smart. They'll stay off to the side and only hit it when cars are going by. So you have to be trained. You have to train yourself to understand your radar detector. That's what people don't understand. That's why I do disagree a little bit that a cheaper one could still work if you learn how to use it, because cops are smart and they'll trigger you if it's not full of traffic. And if you learn to read when it falses, when it doesn't, you can actually take a not so good radar detector and make it work. I've had a couple cops that I've been by and I knew what they were doing. They were just sitting there and pulling the trigger and they were waiting for the cars to come. So that's a big misconception. What's the next biggest one you get?
the next one is kind of like we were talking about false alerts. Like, why is my radar detector alerting even though there's no cop around me? And it's like, it's not just a police radar detector, it's a radar detector. So it's detecting police radar, it's detecting like automatic door openers, it's detecting speed signs nearby, it's detecting cars with like that are transmitting radar nowadays. There's even some satellite dishes in certain houses that are transmitting on Ka band, talking to like satellites in the sky. So there's many different sources of non-police radar that could potentially cause a radar detector to false alert. And so you have different filtering techniques to deal with those.
Hey, this is a great question. I didn't even think about this. Shannon asked, radar absorbing material, is that a real thing?
It is a thing. Mostly military stuff. I've seen people play around with it before in practice, but it's one of those things where like it's not going to work. Not because the technology doesn't work. Like you could totally coat your car in radar absorbing material, but then you have to think of the fact that like you've got the windshield, you've got the seats, you've got all that other stuff that can still bounce the radar signal back. And so even if you're coating like the paint on the car, you've got a lot of other stuff that can still reflect radar. So
there is an absorbing material that actually does work though, huh? That's crazy.
I mean, yeah, there is stuff, and there's same thing for like lidar. There's Vanta Black. We've tested Veil. That's different stuff you can paint on your car. That we don't really find good results from. So really, the best stuff that we find is like for radar, a good radar detector. For laser, you're running Waze and running a set of laser jammers. But some of the stuff with like paints and coatings and all that kind of stuff, sprays, yeah, we'll stay away from that.
Right. So, have you ever had your followers? I mean, I mean, I get it all the time. Everybody thinks they know more than the next person. I mean, have you had some just guys that just want to just argue with you about your findings?
That's all the time. I don't care.
Really? Just
I'm not. No, I'm not always right. I make mistakes. Actually, sometimes I found like I'll test something and then somebody else tests and they find a different result, and I'm like, okay, what just happened? Why? And we actually found sometimes like, okay, maybe different detectors will have different levels of sensitivity. So we find sample variation, or different radar detectors, for example, will perform differently depending on the model. And so we'll get like a bunch of radar detectors. We'll get a bunch of radar detectors. We'll get a bunch of police radar guns. We'll vary different firmwares and settings and terrain and direction. And like, let's test everything out to understand as much as we possibly can. Because if we're not all seeing the same results, there's something else going on that we don't understand yet, that like, let's take the time to learn about it. So I don't care about me being right. If I'm wrong, it's like, awesome, tell me. I want to know what's actually true. But let's understand what's going on so that we can all learn together.
Right, don't just say you're wrong. Give a reason why so you can even look into that.
Yeah. And I'm like, here's my findings. Take a look. Here's the videos of every single test. What happened that could potentially like negatively impact my results. Let's here you go. I mean, you can see what I saw. Like, there's the results.
Right. I mean, I could think even being in certain vehicles would make a difference, right? Because each car puts out a magnetic frequency. I mean, in the car audio world, you get a lot of noise in the newer vehicles because the dash has so many electronics in it, and it picks up through the RCA cables very easy. So there's a lot of stuff that you even got to cover up to keep that out. I could think that could interfere. I mean, all of it can interfere. I mean, there's so much going on.
When you're setting up a test, how do you control every single possible external variable to create
and make it real life, right? Yeah, not like a real life environment, driving around in different states with different frequencies surrounding you. Yeah, 100%. This is great, man. I had a good time tonight. Listen, y'all, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And then check out, it's at Vortex Radar. So he has a YouTube / Vortex Radar. Add to the subscriber count, show some love. Check out his videos. And he also has a Facebook, same thing. So check him out there. This is cool. I like bringing on different things. It's been an awesome talk. I learned some cool stuff tonight. I'm glad our people really had some good questions, which means they were engaged. That's awesome. Let's see. Make sure you follow us. We have tons of Black Friday sales going on right now at bigjeffaudio.com. Next week, we will have Camry Caruso. For some of you that know that have been around for a while, I actually sponsored an NHR race car drag racer. She Camry Caruso, second year, she's rookie, did great. The season's over. Big deal to be on NHRA, Fox Sports, stuff like that. We had a full wrap one day actually in North Carolina on a 4-way race. I was down there. It was awesome. So we'll have her on next week. And like always, man, we're always trying to bring different things on, different people on, and do what this is. This is Big Sound by Big Jeff. Thank you, Ariel, for coming on tonight. I hope my my followers take a look at your platform and become your
thanks for having
followers
me on.
too. And then anybody that might be watching this from your side, Ariel will have a link if you're interested in car audio. That'll help him out to buy through his link and show him some support, which is great, and show us some support. I had a great night. Ben, Taylor, you guys want to come on real quick? There's Team Benjamin. Oh, you kicked him off. We got to pop him back on. What happened there?
We got the wrong. There
we go. Okay. Got Taylor there. We're missing Allie McBee tonight. She was helping another employee out with a flat tire. Ariel, thank you for coming on. Super, super happy about it. What I'd like to do, man, we get you back on in a few months, right? And I'd love to see some new things, or maybe what you're working on right now. You can let the world know. So keep us updated. We'd love to bring it out to everybody. For everybody else, thank you so much for tuning in. As you know, we're back to Tuesday nights to make it easier. We have Camry Caruso next week, and I'm not sure the week after. That might be a surprise. Also, keep looking. I don't know if you remember, I was talking about having a mini me, Big Jeff, Little Jeff. He might be breaking his debut this weekend on some videos. So that'll be fun. Everywhere else, thank you so much. I love your support. Make sure you share, like, and follow, and show Vortex some love also. For you winners tonight, contact my customer service team tomorrow. We'll get you set up. As always, I don't want to say keep basing. That's Parker's thing. Man, just keep having fun. And, let's all do our thing. I love cars. I love speed. I love audio. It all mixes together. I'm Big Jeff signing off. Ben, take us out.
Another show in the bag, yeah, that's a wrap. Big Sound is the best, and it ain't no cap. Hit the website if you need that merch. It's Big Jeff Audio and hit the search. I know you had fun, yeah, you gotta admit it. That boy Big Jeff took his thing and he did it. Always a win, yeah, never a L. Did you smash the like, subscribe, and hit the bell? Share it on your socials, put it on blast. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Big Sound in the house, like no other. Deviant and Big Jeff, the Basshead Brothers.